of this desert map themed after Roxy Raceway. For starters, we have these black wedge-shaped objects floating above the stage. I think they're leftover ramps, perhaps? We can also fly down the tunnel, which is kinda cool. There's a giant virtual reality cart flying overhead, and way to the right, we can find an untextured billboard sign. I wonder what used to be on it. Hole 4 takes place in a swamp environment with 2 giant alligator heads. This map is basically just a river surrounded by tons of trees, and there isn't much to see. Hole 5 throws a giant cupcake into the mix within this rectangle environment. There's a chandelier above us and piles of trash all around. Out back, we have 2 blue container buildings across the purple poisonous looking water. Course 6 takes us to a pizza paradise. There's giant pizzas, pizza advertisements, and even pizza boxes. Unfortunately, the pizza boxes are empty, but they do have grease stains, which are a nice touch. Level 7 has a lush canyon with a severed roller coaster track running through it. The roller coaster doesn't go anywhere, as both ends abruptly stop. Course 8 is all within the Vanny world, and there isn't a whole lot to see in this purple landscape. There are some large machines outside the tunnel we play in though. And you can't go wrong with Digital Pizza Man. The last course is like the daycare, and is a ball pit extravaganza. The ball pit itself is just textured hills that look like balls. There's slides all around the level as well. Also, I hate this course. I fell out of bounds like a bajillion times. But that wraps up Monty Golf. So real quick, I did want to mention something about the mask. The mask doesn't 100% teleport you to the other map accurately all the time. Sometimes the map section below is slightly displaced, but in reality, every time you put on the mask, the game warps you a set distance. So if you were out of bounds or flying around by cheating, the mask will make you move down and up, whatever that distance amount is. Also, trying to access the stage where Monty died in security breach doesn't work because we just fall through it and die. So we make our way to the node area, and because we lack the tool, even despite this normally being an impossible situation, we can't access the nodes. So I have to restart and get that fast wrench. Now when the Cyber Bunny attacks, the animation that shows up on screen is just a video file playing on loop, or at least from what I can tell, as it's considered a heads-up display element and doesn't have any dimension. The bunny's animation is simply teleporting though, and watching this in slow motion doesn't really show much, other than the cube spawning slowly and the rabbit warping. So, VR Monty is summoned once the security rabbit has caught you, but up top, regular Monty isn't actually above you. He only exists in one of the 2 spaces in this instance. If we linger too long, we'll get jump scared in the real world, and this is what the animation looks like in slow motion. Monty chomps at our face, and the animation then freezes in place on the final frame. Now, in leaving this area, Monty jumps out and knocks out a ramp for us that lets us go up top. But where does Monty come from? Well, Croc Boy just spawns in clipping through these pieces of wood. He then shoots out into the hallway like this. As he lunges forward, the ramp collapses on him and eventually pushes him through the ground. He'll sit there for just a moment before unloading completely, and this is the last frame of his animation. Moving on, as we make our way to the security office, there's a set of vents that has a Monty doll in it. This vent system is used in the base game after defeating Monty, but here we can't access it. Even if we could, there's an invisible wall preventing us from getting inside. But if we did, we are able to walk around just fine. The vents lead back behind the stage and then just abruptly end. But we can't see the section that connects over by the stage too. So now we have Monty banging on this door in the hallway. On my second playthrough, he only hit the door a few times. But on my first playthrough, he hit it over and over again. If we go behind the door, we'll see he's not there, as there's no point in animating him. The door just flexes like it's being hit repeatedly from behind. Kinda strange that someone boarded this door up after the earthquake happened. In case you were curious, the last 2 doors in this hallway have nothing behind them, and they just lead to nowhere. In the security office area in FNAF Ruin, Monty will be seen trying to squeeze through a door. If we walk up to him, we're gonna get jump scared. But we can see how he appears off camera. He just spawns into place, and watching his animation in slow motion is pretty neat. If we backtrack at all, we will die, even if we try to just instantly warp behind him. It's kinda cool that Crocman's got a 6th sense. After this, we make our way through the warehouse area and then enter the anomaly room. This is where we make the TV vanish. We can walk on top of the ceiling here, and by doing so, we skip the loading zone for the rest of the map. So behind the TV is nothing. Redoing this though, we can just phase through the wall, and now daycare will be there. But with that, we've entered chapter 2. So let's run through a very quick recap of the daycare area in Ruin. You start off running through some arcade cabinets before making your way into the playground. Moon then jump scares you and tries to rip off your forearm, but fails to realize you're Popeye's daughter, and eventually gets blasted by your flashlight. We must then make our way around the daycare interior, powering up generators to shine lights on Moon, and then ultimately sneaking up behind them and resetting them to Eclipse. We then fly across the map as the door shuts behind us. We now need to make our way into the theater by disabling some nodes, and once inside, the ultimate goal is to dispel the anomalies on the camera system and then climb down this big dude's throat. With that, the daycare is cleared. So the very first thing I was curious about in the daycare was the area surrounding it. Normally, these blocked off staircases would lead us up and around and eventually to the rest of the Pizzaplex. So I totally need to see what's up there in Ruin. Now, as we make our way up these staircases, we'll see that the area up here looks a bit empty. We have several doors and rollerboards in this hallway, but the rooms beyond them don't exist. We're currently in the real world, so looking down below we can see the augmented reality version of this map that appears when you put the Vanny mask on. Swapping between the two worlds, you can see there's a slight difference of map placement between the two. So there are also elevators up here as well, despite them being blocked off down below. There's nothing inside of them, however. The gray and blue gates up here don't open either, but we can find that secret security camera back here that is used to unlock one of the 4 doors in the bonus ending. Running to the front of the daycare, where we would normally come in, we can see the area is completely empty, and trying to go beyond the main gate leads to nowhere. However, way out in the distance, beyond this main gate, we can find something neat. It's Eclipse Boy in the middle of doing a jumping jack, combining the T-pose and an A-pose. Not too surprising, we can find a severed pair of arms out here holding a flashlight. It looks like Eclipse is stepping all over them too. Seeing as the first jump scare is the moon trying to grab the player, it makes sense these would be stored out here like Chica was in Chapter 1. While they're frozen out here, we can take a closer look at the circuit board in their back. It definitely looks pretty archaic, given the technology available within the Pizzaplex. So below this map, we do have the AR version of it that has these purple hazy clouds. And in both versions of the map, we have these star moon decorations that are actually beneath the floor in both instances. We also have some very impressive out-of-bounds rectangles and ceiling pieces, a rare treat, alongside this thing. It looks like a donut made of slime. Anyone recognize what this is? Let me know in the comments. The last out-of-bounds thing can be found behind the ticket booth area.
Now get his dad as well. So yeah.